Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studio in Chicago, Illinois, it's time for Chicago Business Radio. Brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com. Now, here's your host.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chicago Business Radio. Before we get into today's show, I want to shout out our sponsor. Today's show is sponsored by FirmSpace, and thanks to FirmSpace, because without them, we couldn't be sharing these important and fascinating stories that we do. And today, we have a very fascinating and important story to share. My guest today is the president and co-founder of Nala Robotics. So please welcome to the show, Ajay Sunkara. Welcome to the show, Ajay.
Thanks, Max. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited and very interested in what we are going to talk about today. I've been looking you up all day, kind of checking out your things and what you guys are doing. But let's jump right in. What is Nala Robotics and how are you guys serving the community?
Nala is a fully automatic robotic chef. It's kind of meant to automate the entire food making process, in fact. And it's actually going to solve a lot of issues that we are currently facing, with the impacts of the pandemic. In fact, talking about the shortage that we have in the restaurant industry in terms of labor, or we're talking about contactless food prep and delivery. After the COVID thing, all these things have been such a big priority to the community. And with Nala Robotics, we believe we can address a few of them.
So was Nala Robotics founded specifically for the food industry?
That's right. Yeah. In fact, Nala is designed only for the food industry. We started the company 4 years ago. We'll be touching 5 next month, in fact. We've been working on this for a while, and with the pandemic coming, we kind of went on the fast lane to kind of customize it to the current market trends, in fact.
Yeah, I'm sure the pandemic for a lot of people and for all of us really was such a hardship, but for you guys, almost in a way, it sped up things. I mean, it gave you a tremendous opportunity to introduce what you guys are doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So all the way through, we've been concentrating on the food contamination, eliminating cross contamination, kind of like being consistent in the food prep. But with the pandemic thing, the labor shortages as well as the contactless food prep has been a priority, and we could address that.
So I know you all just opened kind of your very first kitchen. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got that going and what it actually is?
We have actually opened our first 2 restaurants at the Mall of India in Naperville. So the first restaurant, it's actually a chicken and wing place. We're talking about fried chicken, chicken tenders, wings, and it's called One Mean Chicken. And we also have another kitchen that opened there. It's called Surya Tiffins. It's more of South Indian breakfast. And so both the restaurants are basically the storefronts, but the actual back-end part of it is done by Nala. The robot actually cooks the food for both the restaurants. The front end is 2 different restaurants, but when you come to the back, it's the same kitchen and the robot cooks the food there.
So in addition to the robot who's cooking the food, are there human employees as well?
We do have human employees. Right now, the plating part of it for Nala 1.0, the plating part of it is still manual, as well as we have staff there to greet you at the point of sale, to greet and take your order. So we still have the human touch there, but the actual food prep part of it, the handling part of it is done by the robot, in fact.
How many employees total do you guys have in your kitchens versus a standard restaurant?
So typically, we would be needing 1/3 of the staff that a standard restaurant would operate with. For instance, if your regular restaurant needs 20 employees, we'd be needing anywhere from 6 to 7. So 30% of the regular staff is what we need.
Now, do you see this in just fast casual settings, or can your robots eventually be expanded out to other types of restaurants?
Well, it's pretty much, it can fit into any kind of setup, right from fast casual to fine dining. We actually would be perfect for a cloud kitchen concept as well. So kind of pretty much whatever the model that we have, we can customize the total machine into to fit that need, in fact.
And how does it work?
The way it works is it actually has millions of recipes in its database. So we pre-code the recipes into the database, and so whenever a dish is ordered, the robot actually goes and picks up the recipe from the database, kind of checks up the profile of the customer, and kind of fine tunes it to what they exactly need. For instance, like if this customer has a history of ordering something always a little spicy, so it's gonna spice it up. Someone needs it really cold, it's gonna serve them at at the temperature, in fact, what they need. So really kind of customize it based on the history of the customer, and then it goes to work. So it precisely pulls those ingredients. In fact, if your recipe calls for 10 grams of oil, medium rare, or whatever it is, so it's going to exactly fit in. The thing has hundreds of sensors, but actually monitors every step of it, and the actual entire cooking process is thoroughly monitored, and it's been delivered, in fact.
Wow, that is super cool. That is just so awesome. And it's funny you mentioned spice, because I cannot stand spice. I'm like I have to have everything as bland as possible. So if I went there, all the sensors would just say, let's make it as bland as we possibly can for him. No spice for me at all. If I had a recipe that I really love, maybe a family recipe, is there a way I can submit it to your database of recipes?
Oh, that's right. In fact, so we have this concept called Immortalize Your Grandma's Recipe. We would be launching that pretty soon, in fact. So the concept of that is, for instance, grandma's pasta or whatever dish that that you have as a family tradition. You actually can code it into the database with the exact ingredients, exact quantities, and whenever you need it, or whenever you feel you want to taste that food, you just go online, order that food. You can either pick it up or get it delivered through a delivery app, in fact.
So who is the customer for Nala Robotics? Who's your average customer?
The average customer is anyone who actually eats fast casual, anyone who actually loves to dine out, and also anyone who actually wants to have consistent food that's tasty and kind of adventurous as well. So we have this surprise me button where it actually is gonna try a new item for you. So our average customer kind of varies, multi-cuisine. So it's kind of pretty much anyone who loves eating out.
And how did you test your robot chef? Did you guys have your own kitchen? Did you take over a kitchen of a restaurant? How was it tested to kind of figure out the best way for it to work?
It's we've been having it in our office for a while now. So most of our staff, they don't get their lunch boxes anymore. We've been trying it for quite a good amount of time. We did cater for a few events, most of them related to our own firm, in fact. And the first restaurant that we have, it's actually built from scratch. Every bit of it was built from scratch, in fact. So we did test it out quite a bit. Kind of fine-tuned it, and we're still learning. In fact, not just us, even the machine, it's AI powered, in fact, AI and ML powered. What that means is it actually gets smarter and smarter every day. As I mentioned earlier, it goes based on the history, in fact, and it gets finer and finer, smarter and smarter. The more the data it has, the more smarter it gets, in fact. So we're going to see the future versions of Nala pretty smart in terms of getting into new recipes, getting into the customer trends of that area. For instance, what people love in Naperville might be different to what people love in somewhere in the city, in fact. So it actually would kind of customize it based on the weather. For instance, if the weather is cold, like today, it might be preferring, or it might throw you recommendations of foods that are pretty decent for the weather right now.
Can other restaurants buy your Nala technology robot?
So we are actually currently in works of partnering with a few chains, to have Nala technology put in there. But also not just a chain or an established restaurant. We have this feature that we'll be launching very soon called the Marketplace. And what the Marketplace is, it's a platform where anyone from a Michelin star to a home chef to pretty much anyone who has a desire or a passion to cook and serve quality food can go online to a marketplace, create a virtual restaurant out of it, upload their recipes and their menus into it, and start serving their food instantly. And for instance, if you have 10 locations of Nala tomorrow, and someone who goes online can upload their recipes, and all these 10 locations can instantly start serving that virtual menu.
Wow, that's incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Now, what other verticals are you in within the food industry?
So basically, Nala would have 5 different verticals. The first one is the restaurants that we discussed about, our own restaurants. I'm talking about the Thai one that we're starting early next week. The Indian kitchen, we actually want to have a virtual restaurant for soups and salads. So the typical Nala company-owned restaurants is the first vertical. And we have another vertical for on-the-go foods. In fact, we're talking about frozen foods or on-the-go foods that you can find in a local grocery store or somewhere in your neighborhood stores, where the machine actually during its off-peak hours, it actually would make the food kind of freeze it and keep it ready to be sold in the shelves. In fact. That's the second vertical. The third one is the meal plan. So since the machine can pretty much cook every day and around the clock, we'll be having this meal plans to serve freshly prepared meals every day. For instance, like someone has a dietary restriction or someone needs freshly prepared diet food. In fact, so all these things can be prepared with meal plan. The next vertical is the marketplace, the one that I talked about earlier, where anyone from a home chef to a celebrity to you have your own recipe stored, your own grandma's recipe stored there. So somewhere a platform where anyone can create a restaurant out of it instead of spending thousands and thousands to build their own restaurant. That's the marketplace vertical. And the last one we have is the business partnerships. It's more of a B2B thing that I discussed earlier, where we partner with existing restaurant chains and customize Nala to fit in their kitchen, in fact.
Now, what you guys are doing is so innovative, so game-changing. How do you see this impacting the future of the restaurant industry?
Well, technology, in fact, is one area that the restaurant industry has always benefited from. If you look at the recent introduction of technology, either on the POS systems or in the food delivery apps, it actually helped the restaurant industry survive during the pandemic. It actually helped the survive industry reach new levels in terms of their service. In fact, if you take a few years ago, it's only pizza businesses that were able to deliver to customers. Now almost every restaurant is able to deliver because of the technology that they've adapted. Similarly, with introduction of Nala, the entire food industry would be benefiting in terms of quality, consistent food. You'd be saving on the food wastages, in fact, which is a big budget constraint for a lot of restaurants. So food wastage, cross-contamination, and all those things can be eliminated, and that will actually elevate the food sector as a whole, in fact.
So as we start to wrap things up, I do have another question for you that I'm just so curious about. I'm assuming you've had a lot of dishes made by your Nala chef. What's your favorite thing the robot has made for you?
Well, actually, that's something I'm going to have for dinner again tonight. My favorite is the spicy garlic wings, and in fact, that was one of the first dishes that Nala made, and I always have the same amount of spice, introduced to it. And that's my favorite, actually.
Awesome. Well, next time I'm in Naperville, I'll definitely have to come try out One Mean Chicken. And speaking of Naperville, tell us again where people can find your restaurants, and if they're interested in learning more, where they can find you online.
Sure. So we are in Naperville at the Mall of India. It is right opposite to the Fox Valley Mall, in between New York Street and Ogden on Route 59. And we are open from 12 noon to 9 p.m., in fact, all 7 days of the week.
And Ajay, is my last question for you. What do you need more of? What does Nala Robotics need more of?
What we need more of is more recipes, more cuisines that we gonna introduce. We're talking about the next versions of it. We're gonna have more like the pizza thing that will be introduced. We're talking about the burger thing that will be introduced. So that's what Nala would be doing in the next coming future, in fact.
And is there a website that our listeners can find more about Nala Robotics?
Sure, it's nalarobotics.com. You can go and check us out there, and also our Twitter handle is Nala Robotics, so you can check us out on Twitter as well.
Awesome. Well, Ajay, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been very fascinating talking to you and all the work you're doing with Nala Robotics.
Sure. Thank you, Max. Thank you for having me.
And thanks to you for listening to another episode of Chicago Business Radio. I'm Max Cantor, and we'll see you next time.
This episode of Chicago Business Radio has been brought to you by FirmSpace, your private sanctuary for productivity and growth. To learn more, go to firmspace.com.